Howdy Earthlings, I'm making a YouTube video and we need one writer, one cameraman, one editor, and you have to be mains except for me because I'm playing the talent. That joke sucked. Anyway, Dandy's World is a fun game that has a lot of unwritten rules as well as a role structure and many other community-made rules and guidelines. These sort of define how Dandy's World is played by the community. One of the roles that I'm talking about today is specifically Distractors. There's some controversy behind Distractors. People will say there is no Distractor role because it was never intended to be a thing, but we have people playing support and Extractors, which are roles, and the creator Quell says that they don't view the game as having roles at all. So if Distractor isn't a role because Quell doesn't say Distractor is a role, then Extractor and support were also not roles at one point too. So there are no roles. Video done. I'm kidding, of course. You have to accept that as a game grows, it's going to change and the community's intent is going to overwrite the creator's intent. There's just more players than there are developers. That said, I think distracting is a double-edged sword. It's not necessarily good or bad. It has drawbacks. First, a brief rundown on what Distractors are so that if you're one of the people who watches my videos without knowing what Dandy's World is, so that you know what they do so we can have a better understanding of why they're so divisive a figure on a team. If you play Dandy's World, you probably know what they are already, but as a Distractor, you're expected to play a tune with a high movement speed. Then you run around the map to look for all the Twisted. You get their attention, then you go take them somewhere in the map that isn't occupied by players. There you walk around in a circle making sure all the Twisted stay on you. You'll do this until all the machines are finished and someone tells you that the team is at the elevator. Then you bring the Twisted with you back to the elevator so people can get their research. When you're not the Distractor, you're supposed to stay out of the Distractor's way. Focus on the machines, collecting capsules, and resources you and the rest of the team will need to use to survive later floors. When you're on the final machine, you let everyone know, then everyone heads back to the elevator. Once everyone arrives, you send EAE into the chat, which is code for everyone at elevator. Then you wait for the Distractor to come back, and you'll initiate a chase with any Twisted you're missing research on, and then hop back into the elevator. You'll do this every floor until either you or the Distractor is dead. Sometimes there's just one Distractor, sometimes there's a backup one. For trinkets, a Distractor who is new will usually have dog plush and pink bow. That's 10% bonus walk speed, which will help them outwalk the Twisted, and pink bow is 7.5 run speed bonus, which helps you with gathering Twisted and getting back to the elevator. I call this dog bow for short. For the most part, you won't run much. If you played for a little longer, you might have clown horn and ribbon spool, which I call ribbon horn, which gives 10% walk speed and run speed on even and odd numbered floors. For tunes, you'll likely play Louie. If you're more experienced, you'll likely play Pebble, who has more stealth but has their ability Speak, which is like an air horn. It's a taunt move that brings Twisted in the area back to Pebble. There are other tunes who are well suited to be Distractors. For the most part, it's just Louie and Pebble. So what's the issue? There's a few. First, I will say that if you want to make it past 20, for the majority of groups, a Distractor will be necessary. Either because the Twisted from floor 20 onwards are very annoying, or because it takes too long without a Distractor. This is a double-edged sword. A Distractor is important, but there are a few downsides that make Distractors bad. Let me explain. Distractors existing as a role ruins public lobbies. You ever get into a matchmaking lobby and everyone starts leaving immediately? That's because they didn't see anyone with dog bow or ribbon horn on, so they know there isn't a Distractor on the team. Many players have become so reliant on having a Distractor that they won't play with a group of randoms if there isn't a Distractor. You shouldn't be expecting perfection from a public lobby, especially in a game where the creator insists there isn't any other roles. Until there is a role queue system, you're going to get lobbies that don't have a Distractor, and I don't think they'll ever do role queues, as it just goes against their design ethos. Role queues also ruin the game for new players, as they likely don't understand the role system yet. You have to keep in mind this is a free game on Roblox. Most kids are fresh off of Steal a Brain Rot and have likely never played a game with team mechanics before. I think you shouldn't queue into matchmaking expecting good games unless you're willing to carry yourself. Every time I go into a pub lobby, I know I'm going to be the last alive or second to last alive. It's just how it always is. There's a saying in Smite. It's a competitive MOBA game. It's not on Roblox. I think it was one of the pro players like Weekend or something who said it, but the quote is, "You shouldn't go into competitive unless you're prepared to carry the whole team." And then if everyone goes in expecting that, if everyone goes in expecting to carry the team, you actually then get good games. If you're expecting high floors from pubs, you're just out of luck. Distractors are a crutch. I think Distractors are making the entire community worse at the game. From very early on, new players learn about Distractors. I learned about them in my second game as a viewer joined and played Pebble. I super appreciate everyone joining and helping me learn the game though, but I think a new player shouldn't have a Distractor in any of their early games. It leaves them entirely unprepared for when the Distractor inevitably dies. Now, you have a bunch of players who don't know how to avoid Twisted running around like chickens with their heads cut off. These players wouldn't have made it past floor 5 without a Distractor. Now they think they're a necessary role and refuse to play without one. These players will never learn the actual game. This is why we have a bunch of main tune players running around who can't make it past 4-8, because they never had to play without a Distractor and they think now that they're a main, that they're just magically all set, completely forgetting that they have less health, which means that they have to play even better than before. A main tune won't make you better at the game, they're a trade-off for already good players. You play a riskier tune that requires more skill in exchange for better abilities and more niche approaches to gameplay. Distractors are making more bad players, and it's getting hard to tell who is good and who got lucky. In reality, if you're smarter than an amoeba, you don't need a Distractor until floor 12 at least. Learn to play, then go looking for Distractors, otherwise you're going to die the floor after the Distractor does. Distractors make less ichor. I'm still pronouncing ichor wrong on purpose to upset you. Distracting can be a thankless job. If you're a good Distractor, people won't see you anywhere near the elevator. This means people forget you exist. They can get in your way, make your job harder, try to steal the Twisted, then blame you for not being able to take them back. All the while, you're making less ichor than everyone else because you don't get to extract or collect capsules. You're sacrificing personal reward for the betterment of the team. That's great, honestly. Good players will do that. But that shouldn't have to be the case. You shouldn't have to make less than everyone else just because you decide to do the dirty work. Distracting makes the game boring. Let's be real, this game is boring as heck when there's a Distractor around. There isn't any danger, there's no risk of surprise or getting hit. It's walking around, looking for machines, then standing directly in front of machines as you stare at the screen waiting for checks to appear. The game isn't any more interesting for the Distractor either. They're running around in circles waiting for everyone to finish their machines as quick as possible so they can run back and do it again on the next stage. It has all of the engagement and excitement of Cookie Clicker. You're not even really playing the game when there's a Distractor. Without one, you might not make it as far, but at least it's a game. There's risk, danger, excitement, and reward for completion. There is actual gameplay. Staring at a screen and pressing a button isn't gameplay, it's a Skinner box. But explaining a Skinner box is way too much to get into for a video about a Roblox game. But it does explain Roblox in its entirety. Look it up if you're curious. Once you know what it is, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Distracting makes the community worse, it makes it more toxic, it makes players worse, and forces a player to make less than everyone else just so other players can have an easier game. This is the problem with making roles in a game where the creator didn't really want roles. It's either time Quell should acknowledge the existence of Distractors and make their job more rewarding, or there needs to be changes to how the game functions so that Distractors aren't necessary. My suggestion for this is to make a short run mode, a short 10 to 15 floor run mode where the final floor ends in a big event, like powering up an elevator or a long hallway full of hiding spots where people have to get to the end. Maybe fill it with main Twisteds. The mode could offer a bonus of ichor for people who make it or skins for tunes that complete it. You can call it escape mode. Since it's shorter, it would never reach the same difficulty as normal endless games, so there wouldn't be a need for a Distractor. If it did get hard enough, the final floor being a long hallway means distracting wouldn't be as viable. Players would have to survive on their own merits. That's the easiest fix that I can think of. Also, it'd be fun to just have a non-endless mode for players who don't want to spend 3+ hours in a run. It's really annoying waiting for AFK players. The alternative would be to make some floors that have different objectives, where distracting is the goal, like having these zones where you have to lead Twisted through them, or a King of the Hill sort of thing, where you intentionally have to have Twisted inside the ring in order to make progress on it. If they acknowledge the existence of roles within the game, they could better reward the Distractors and other players. One way would be to create role passives. Each role gets additional ichor for doing their job. Support would get bonus ichor for using their support actions like healing or boosting like Brusha does. Extractors would get bonus ichor from using machines, and then you wouldn't have supports hogging up the machines because machines is the main way to get ichor, and then Distractors could receive bonus ichor from initiating in chases and staying in them. The only other fix would be balancing changes, like changing Poppy's ability and making Poppy's ability a passive that everyone has. I think the speed boost after being hit is something everyone can do in Dead by Daylight. I think it's at least a perk or something. Maybe make it so stamina comes back a little bit faster. I don't know. More professional players than I would know what needs changing. Anyway, thanks for the support lately. I appreciate all the comments and nice things you've all been saying. I was expecting a lot meaner considering how some people behave in this game. Tell me what you think of Distractors. Do they need to go? What can we do to make them less necessary? For now, don't forget to tip the alien. I take likes, subs, and enough floor candy to make your teeth fall out. Special thanks to the supporters who help me make videos like this. If you want your name read in the credits, you can get that for just $1 through members or by joining my Patreon. Speaking of credits, thanks to Nebuzy, Aspirant Artist, Paper, Faye Penguin, Momentary Unicorn, Aurora the Puppy Moth, Nat, Marius Yini, Worm Syrup, Rask, Thieve, Colorado Blue, Vaderson, Linky again, Rask again, TG Dante, Willie Pete, Splackjack, Malding Brick, and Am, who just subbed on the Patreon. I'll see y'all later. I'm going to go spit on Dandy's face and steal all the medkits. I'll see y'all later. Bye.